Welcome back to Marshlands for another casted game. On the south side in the teal this time we have Tam the Terrible as the Holy Roman Empire, and on the north in the yellow we have Matata as the Ayyubids. Now Tam, you might have seen, she has a Twitch channel. You should definitely go and follow her. She does some great streams, HRE main, and I think you'll really enjoy her content. So I'm really excited to see what she gets up to today on this interesting map. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, to be perfectly honest. I think the way the food is distributed is a little bit weird because of all of the fish in the middle, and when you can see from the scout vision there aren't a lot of sheep. Now Tam, I think, is going for the classic scouting path where you go towards the middle and then either do one half of the map completely or you cut off halfway down and do that. So this is definitely the better scouting path in general for most maps. Unfortunately, I think this map is one of them where you don't want to just go straight down the center, because in these stealth forests, which you can see are all over the place, and where the fish are, the sheep don't really spawn, and there are much less sheep on this map. So Matata has done a bit of a strange scouting path down the edges, and actually I think that's going to pay off a little bit better for him, because the sheep tend to spawn around your base and on sort of the northwest to southwest edge, and then the northwest to southeast, basically between the market and the sacred site along the bottom, and then the same from the east market to the north sacred site, if that makes sense. The two diagonal perpendicular sides are where most of the sheep will spawn. So we're going to see and with this one we can see that nobody's actually gone for the center, so nobody deciding to go and put a mill on those shoreline fish. Obviously the gather rate is better on those for your villagers, but then you are getting all of that idle time. So I have seen some crazy builds where HRE main has stuck an Archon by all of the fish, which I think is definitely not the right choice. So it's nice to see that Tam is sticking in her base, and I really like to see this. You'll be able to see from the base, if we spin it around a little bit, that she's moved her sheep round to the side closest to the gold, which means that her prelate can inspire them and get all of the sheep, and they're not just left where the starting sheep are. So I really like that movement. The one thing you do want to be careful of as soon as you start building your Archon is that your prelate isn't just inspiring the builders that are working, because it can only inspire, I believe, 8 villagers, and so having those 4 builders inspired actually does reduce your income. But with this position there's not a huge amount you can do. If we check over on the Ayyubids side, because obviously the caster interface doesn't actually show you the age up, because why would it? We are going for the growth wing, which is 3 villagers and an extra 50 food on those orchards. So if we see when the Ayyubids place their mill down, they get all of these cool little orchards around the berry patches, which gives them an extra 50 food, I believe, if we check out these ones. It's supposed to give them extra. Let's double check over on this side. Okay, it doesn't give them more, but it does. It improves the gather rate, but the age up from the Ayyubids will allow them to all get that extra 50 food. So that's why you can see here Matata's doing a really great job splitting all those villagers so they don't finish gathering any of these berry bushes before the age up, which means then you're going to get a ton more food from this. And on this map, Matata's really lucky that he's also got another set of berries back here, so that's going to mean that he's got loads of safe food down the back as well. It does mean we're not going to be seeing the classic camel fast castle from the Ayyubids, which is always fun. And now we've got the Archon Chapel just getting finished, it's going to be interesting to see whether Tam goes for the fast castle or is going for some production and maybe some feudal. We'll have to wait and see. There is a tower going up on the gold, so that would initially tell me that potentially we're going fast castle, but there's only 3 on the gold at the moment. So oh no, the prelates. You have a home, my friend. They've spent ages building it for you. It's perfect. You just want to jump in there and then you can send out your message from the highest steeples. So the prelate definitely wants to be in the Archon Chapel, because actually at the moment I don't think it's inspiring anyone. I don't think anyone's actually in radius of the inspiration. So we definitely want to move that in there as quickly as possible. So that's definitely going to be hurting Tam's income a little bit. And those 3 villagers have all come out. So now Matata has that little bit of an eco boost. Tower going up behind the gold. I don't know why you'd put a tower here. So I'm sure maybe there's a 10-head play that I'm not seeing. Also, for example, this lumber camp not being right up against the wood line, maybe the extra walking distance, you know, these guys need to be on a diet. Maybe they've had a bit too much food over the holidays, obviously not Christmas because it's the Ayyubids, but maybe they need to do that little bit of extra walking, who knows. But this tower, I definitely stick it here, because then also if you decide to go for the stone, they'd also garrison there as well. You always want to have your tower on the outside where you're going to get attacked from. So because Tam is on this south side over here, you would expect the fighting to come from this angle, so you definitely want to have your tower here. For example, if you stick your tower on the backside here, they can attack you here and you've got to run all the way around, which, as we all know, the pathing on these crazy little villagers isn't always the best. Yeah, so I'm really not sure what the lumber camp here is doing. I'm guessing it might be to do with getting things in range, but you definitely put it right up against there and just build a house later. Also, I think this house position's a little bit wrong. We can't actually see the influence on this view, because of course, why would we want to see the influence when we're seeing the Ayyubids? But you want to be able to get all of the buildings connected to get all of these bonuses. So with the Ayyubids, you get that 10% gather rate for 10 structures, so we definitely want to be getting that soon. And like the Abbasid dynasty, you definitely want to be aiming for that. But we can hear some noises in the distance, and it's Tam's forces. We've got a scout and an archer coming across because we have some production. We've got stables, an archery range, and we got a blacksmith going down. So Tam is definitely going for a feudal. A lot of gold, so definitely think we want to be seeing some eco upgrades, but obviously we don't have a lumber camp. Check out these guys. So this is the thing. So when they garrison here, they've had to run behind it, which actually means that these guys can still do a bit of damage. Little bit eager with the archers there. Tam definitely wants to make sure that she keeps these guys alive. Horsemen and the scout circling round. And on this map especially, you definitely want to make sure you have a scout with your forces, because with all these stealth forests, you really can't see what you're doing. And archers need that vision to actually do any damage. So yeah, but with all of this gold in, we can see we've got the +1 range defense coming in for Tam to make sure these guys can dive under the TC and under the tower. But we do have camels out now. These guys are going to be really annoying for Tam. The archers will counter them, but unfortunately the horses are going to be able to beat those archers relatively easily, and the camels debuff the horses, so even horse on horse, the HRE ones are going to do significantly worse in these fights. So the raider being ranged, they're taking a huge amount of damage. I definitely, so going down, that's actually quite an expensive loss there for Matata. So this is kind of paying off, but if you see here, the archer is just going to get absolutely slapped into the dirt there by those horsemen. So we do have +1 melee attack. Okay, interesting. I wouldn't really go for that tech straight away because, one, we've only got one horse, so actually you're paying all those resources for, so what's the resources on that? Like 175 resources for 1 extra damage, now we've got 2. I'd definitely be putting a lumber camp here, right up there, and getting my double broadaxe would be super good. Also, yeah, chucking a mill down there, that's really nice. Then we want to be seeing, I'd be seeing wheelbarrow because of all the walking, but I do like the slow farms here because with the Archon, which we do have the prelate inside, thank you Tam, that's what we want to see. Now we've got that in there, these farms are actually going to pay off really, really well. So now you've also got farms down, you want to be seeing the wheelbarrow, you also want to be seeing horticulture as well, so that one we can see is already in queue. No additional gold being got just yet. I would say if we're going into archers, we definitely want the +1 range damage. So whether that was a misclick, whether Tam's meant to get steeled arrow and not the melee one, we don't know at this stage. But I do like the fact that Tam is not just going for farms, because you often see HRE players basically ignoring all other food on the map and just going for berries. But we've got some deer over here and a nice little tower, so we can see the vision here. Tam has loads of vision on what's going on, so these guys are not going to be able to do it. Really fast reactions there, actually. That's going to be good. And also, there's not enough space in the tower, but a little bit of micro here around the tower, running those guys around, and some horses, but they're taking a lot of damage actually, so that's going to be one of those horses going down. There we go. So actually that was really good for Tam. No damage to the villagers, but actually a couple of horses being taken down as well. We can see that we have a few more ecotechs in for our Ayyubid friend Matata, and it looks like he's working his way to castle, so he's very quickly getting a lot of food. and the castle's already in. Okay, already going to castle. No notification, obviously, because why would we want to see that? Dervish wing. So we've got 3 dervishes that also get the AoE healing. So this is going to mean that Matata against the HRE is going to be able to nab all of those relics, which, yeah, as you know, playing against the HRE, the relics are usually theirs and you've got to try really hard to defend it. So this is a nice little change of pace. So we can also see we've got 2 stables, and that does mean that we can build the Camel Lancers and the Camel Raiders, because the Ayyubids have the ability to build those Camel Raiders from both the stables and the archery range, which is always a good thing to note. Now, Tam is building up some defensive walls, expecting those castle units to come, and we're going for a burger. Where is it? A back burger, if you like. So Tam loves the Burgrave Palace. It's always nice to watch this one going up. You don't get to see it a huge amount. Now, whether it's the right call in this case, obviously Matata's gone up earlier, so is going to be securing up those relics, and there's no point having Regnits without it. Whether the men-at-arms are going to be able to do a lot of damage, the camels can generally deal with them pretty well, but having lots of infantry isn't going to be a bad thing, especially paired up with those archers. Also, if you didn't know, with the different wings, you know there's here you'll be able to see for each of the different wings there's 2 different options. So I can't remember which is which, but if you notice here on the culture wing, you can see this glowing, shiny little star that's spinning around up there. So that tells you which option it is actually. So if the eco wing, they've gone for the other one, which I believe is the wood one, where you get like, I don't know, however much wood it is in feudal and all of that, then you'd have the eco wing, but you'd have the little star floating above it. So if you are interested and you play the Ayyubids a lot, or you play against them a lot, you can actually identify with this one. So unlike Byzantine mercenaries, you can actually figure out what's what. So Matata almost doing a bit of a Japanese play, picking up those relics and just dumping them anywhere in the base. I really hope they eventually make it into that mosque, because it's not a big walk, but we definitely want to be seeing them going in there. So he's clearly prioritizing grabbing the relics rather than putting them away. So we've got 3 hanging around the base, a 4th one over here, and where's the 5th one? It looks like that one must already be in hand somewhere as well. Yeah, so we've got all 5 relics going to the Ayyubids, and we've got camels and horses chilling outside the HRE base. But as Tam goes in with some horsemen, trying to get some damage in the back there, running around those walls, nice little go past there to try and get some of the villagers. The villagers aren't pulling out their shanks as you might expect, but here we go. The camels are trying to counter push, but getting caught out. Now, it's good to remember these lancers are heavy melee, which means your archers aren't going to be able to beat them. So you've got to be able to really tell the difference between the 2 different camels, because the lancers aren't going to be beaten by archers, but the normal ones are. So it's really tricky when you're playing against them. And also you've got to remember this little purple thing where the horses look really sick. That camel's unease makes your cavalry much worse. So against the camel raiders, actually going horsemen is pretty good. 2 horses can beat 1 raider in a direct fight, but once you get to these lancers, you definitely need to be getting spears and crossbows. That's what you want to be working on. And we can see Tam is reading my mind, or I'm reading hers, and she's already going into crossbows. Now this composition is going to be really good, and it's good to remember HRE get the free marching drills, so the movement speed is very, very different. So you can see here we've got a movement speed of 1.38, which is a lot more than a usual archer. So this is going to really help against the camels that do have that mobility. Tam is also circling around with some of these horses, trying to get some nice raids in. This is really nice to see. Actually, I think this is really good that Tam is doing this, whereas Matata is very much massing up. So these guys are sort of high gold, low plat, and so often you will see this where players will mass up massively and try and get one huge big blob and then go for one big fight. And we can see Tam is also getting some units on the back and playing defensively, but with some nice little raids, catching them out on the berries there. This is going to be really good. Even if the villagers don't go down, this is a lot of idle time, which is really nice. But the interesting thing here, only 1 villager taken out by Tam, but now the villager numbers are equal. With the 3 extra ones that Matata got from the eco wing, that does mean Matata's not been keeping up with villager production, so that's something to really keep an eye on at this stage. Also, we're going to flick over to the income per minute. Sorry, it's taken me a few minutes. Too busy nattering away. But we can see a big engagement going here on the sacred site. Matata's forces split up now, so lots of them at the base. I'm going to lose quite a few of these forces. Definitely needs to keep them together like Tam is doing just here. We can see the backup forces building outside the base to keep that safe, but pushing in now. Tam's got to be really careful not to overextend here with all of the forces grouping up. This is going to be a bit more dangerous with the Ghulams and with the camels, but pulling back just in the nick of time, and the scout deciding he can take on the whole HRE army. I don't think that's going to happen, mate. So here we go. And if we take a little look at the bases, we've got a really nice little farm transition here going on. Not too heavy because Tam is also still out on the deer over here, which is really nice as well. Some ecotechs have been coming in. And you definitely want to look at how many villagers we've got everywhere. So we've got 6 on gold, so that's actually probably enough to be looking at getting your specialized pick. We've got a lot on food, so you definitely want to be looking at your level 2 fertilization for your farms and your berries. And the wood ones, you just want to be getting all of these. If you've got the spare gold, definitely think about using them, especially as Tam is going quite heavy into food and wood units, not too much into the others. So I'd definitely be going heavier into crossbows if I were them, especially when we see all these Ghulams. You want to be having those and then a tanky front line. And actually the HRE men-at-arms deal much better with the Ghulams because they have the tech. Now, where is it? Heavy maces. So this means they get an extra 6 bonus damage. Ghulams obviously get the double shot, so they actually hit twice, which means they do a little bit of extra damage. But this against heavy units actually will deal with camel lancers better. It's also going to deal with Ghulams better. So Tam definitely wants to be getting quite a lot of these men-at-arms and getting this upgrade as well. Spears are good, and they will also trade relatively well against the crossbows, so that's always good to know. But the horsemen getting caught out by the camels, a huge force of camels, 9 camels to chase 3 horses. I think that's a good distraction here by Tam. Even if this horseman goes down, it's keeping all these units occupied. These villagers chilling out here, I'm guessing they probably built that archery range, and you definitely don't want to be building buildings with 8 villagers. That's a huge amount of resources you're losing just by building them. So ideally, and also like 4 in a house, ideally you don't want to build with more than 1 unless you really have to. So the reason you want to do that is because actually building is exponentially worse the more villages you put on it. So to double the build speed, if we take a little look while we're waiting for the action to take place, a house takes 15 seconds. To get it half, which would be 7.5 seconds, you need to use 4 villagers. So actually it's not really that much of a saving to use it on more. So I remember watching a Beastie video where he was training Whammon, and he was talking about how if you build a production building, it's 30 seconds. If you use 2 villagers, it's like 26 seconds or 24 seconds or something like that. Remember, we don't do maths on this channel, we just pretend that we do maths. But basically you actually lose resources by doing it too many. So unless you really have to rush a building up for a particular reason, you want to use as few villagers as possible because you can actually do more. So this villager here building a house is fantastic, but Tam being sneaky, the sacred site's being taken and she's sneaking into the base. The TC has notified him, so Matata does know and is returning with his forces from the sacred site. All of the villagers running away, so this is huge. They've done no damage, and oh no, they've garrisoned and then they're ungarrisoning, so they're just running around the base. The whole eco for Matata is now idle, so no damage done yet, but this idle time is massive. We can see also that the units are starting to flood in slowly. Going to be taking a lot of damage here from Tam. These camels are going to get shredded, but oh no, they've right-clicked moved, so they're not even attacking anything yet. They're trying to find a target, and there we go. They've finally done it, so no A move there, but I don't know if this front line is going to be strong enough. There's not enough crossbows in the back to take out all of these units, and the Ghulams there are going to make easy work of these spears. So it looks like this fight's not going to go quite in Tam's favour. These lancers actually can do a huge amount of damage, and it looks like the crossbows and front line are down, and all of Tam's forces in the base have been taken out, and Matata's forces now looking very, very strong. The relics are all away as well, which means the gold income is looking very, very good for him. But we can see a villager getting caught out by the reinforcements over here. Tam's going to have to be really careful to make sure that she doesn't separate her units too much, because it looks like with the forces that are coming over that Matata is now looking a little bit scary. Lots of low health units, so I'm not sure if we've still got dervishes on the field. Let's take a little look. no, so all the dervishes have been taken out, which does mean that it's going to be a little harder to heal these up. I'd definitely be making some dervishes for my army if I was Matata, especially going for the wing that gives you the AoE healing, because all of these camels would be full health, and that's a lot of units back. So these guys taking it really easy, not doing a lot of fighting. So here, this is where Tam definitely wants to be trying to do a little bit of micro hitting them. These camos also not A moved, so they're not hitting any of those villagers as well. Matata definitely wants to be using that A move. So all the Ghulams in the front going to be taking out those horses and spears very easily. Camels in the back trying to raid the farms, getting caught out by the TCs. I think these spears are going to take those out, but doing a little bit of damage. But here we can also see that the villager gap is starting to build up now. Matata is doing a lot of damage in the forces, but he's not building up his villagers, which is definitely going to hurt him in the long run. So lots of Ghulams on the field. I think the composition here for Tam is a little bit off. We definitely want to be seeing tons of crossbows and those heavy maces, because they would shred these guys to pieces. Archers also good against the crossbows, and horsemen, I think that's also a nice addition as well, but we definitely want to be seeing a little bit more. Now all of these Ghulams are just moving away, so we can see they're all just moved, which means that every time these guys come in, that's what you want to do. A little spin round, a little bit of an attack, and then shift away. So you can't really kite with Ghulams, but you can do a bit of damage. These guys going to get taken out now just by the sheer number of HRE forces. And we can see also from the mini map that Matata has tried to wall in. When the action has subsided, there we go, as they retreat, we're just going to double check. This is where you've got to be careful. I knew I was going to see this because I've been caught out before. On the minimap, it looks like it's done, but because Tam stopped it now, this wall is completely open, and I don't think Matata knows about it. That's going to be really dangerous if he thinks his base is safe, and it really isn't. You know, we've all been there. We all hate it. But looking at the eco now, the food is absolutely pumping now for Tam on her side with all the farms. We definitely want to be pumping out more of these units. I think we need a lot more gold. We've used up all the gold at the front. We're moving out to this further extended one, and we do have a huge gold down back here. So I definitely think we want to be sending a load of villagers over here to get that going, because that's going to really allow us to keep pumping out those units. When you're on the Burgrave, you definitely want to be using it to get the most advantage. So printing as many units from this, especially in 5 seconds, that's a lot. So we've got, let's say, 250 gold. So we could get, what, 10 men-at-arms in like the next 50 seconds. That would massively change this. That's like almost half of the Ayyubid forces. So just something to think about. But Tam is getting her eco-techs, getting the mining one, which is definitely the right call in this case. But Matata's eco isn't looking too shabby, because he does have the relics. Some more horsemen doing some raiding, but just running past, so both of them passing by each other. This is where you've got to be really careful. If you're going to be doing some raiding like this, you probably want to A-move them into the resources, and then you will hit them. Sometimes you'll hit a random mill, which isn't ideal, but you definitely don't miss a load of villagers like that. Camels chasing the horses around, and it looks like Matata's pulling all of his cavalry to go chasing, so this is going to work. And Tam massing up in the center, also going for some of the fish now as well, trying to make the use of all of the resources on the map. Villagers going to get caught out. They're going to pull their shanks out and then go and retreat. So Springle Tower is looking really strong here, done a huge amount of damage, and those horses are running away. If we check out the Ayyubid base, we do have a full farm transition and the odd random farm, which always happens when you shift click a load of those farms down. They always jump over the walls, which is always really annoying. But we can see now, fight coming in. Some of Tam's forces caught out of position, dragging all those Ayyubid guys down. There's a ram to try and take down the tower, but I think the units are going to get there first, and this is going to be a big engagement. I think those villagers building the tower are going to get caught out if Matata can target them with his archers, but I think he's more worried at the moment about the rest of the forces. Spear's going to be taking out those camels, and the crossbow mass at the back, that's what we want to see. The Ghulams are going to have to run in fear. We've got another Springle Tower coming down on their sacred site, which Tam is going to be able to capture if we can get the prelate into position. And all of these guys, oh no, Matata, Hakuna Matata, they're all moving with the ram, they're in formation, which means they all move at ram speed, which means every single HRE unit is faster, and all the infantry's already faster. So those units got absolutely shredded just because they were moving with that ram. That's where you've got to be so careful when you move in formation. All of your units move at the slowest possible rate. Horsemen now coming in for a massive raid on these berries. 2 more of these villagers are going to go down if they hit the right one. Are they going to get it before they come? There we go. And now retreating very quickly after doing a nice little bit of damage. But there's not a big difference in villager kills, but Tam is almost double the villagers now. And there's no Swabia. This is all just about producing them. And we've got some traders. Sure. Okay, so we got some traders, you know, because why not? I think Matata doesn't know that he's got this big gold over here, and he's also got the gold in his base. I'd be saying at this stage probably not the best idea to be adding traders, but you know, maybe that's the cheaper way of doing it instead of adding another TC in at this stage. We'll see. Tam got a huge amount of resources. We might be thinking about an Imperial Age. We're also almost pop capped, and this force 90 units is looking really, really strong for Tam. I definitely love to see these sacred sites captured, this one, and sneaking around to get the other one. Matata did realize about this, and now Tam also knows that that wall is complete. Now, is it complete? I don't know if that's right up to the edge, but obviously if the horses are running the other way, I imagine they must be pathing around the other side. But Tam's going to try and burn this down. Are the villagers going to get caught out? Are they going to run straight into the horses? Are they going to notice? Yep. See you later, sir. Have fun torching. Tam is moving in for the kill. Going and hitting the berries and going down the side towards this. So I like this. A couple of units going around the front there to get some villagers and cycling around to get the most damage, because if Tam can get into these farms, that is going to be massive. But a counter raid from the Camel Lancers coming in on the back, idling up Tam's economy as well. But this is a lot of military to take out of your base when you're about to get hit by the HRE swarm. Mangonel trying to come in and stop those crossbows, but Tam deciding to ignore the units and run straight for the eco, because who needs to fight the military when you can see all of those villagers to be taking? A couple of traders just running past them. Yep, don't worry about those guys, they're just carrying loads of gold. All of them moving past each other. A move, please. So they've just all run past each other because nobody's A-moved, and that would have been all of those villagers down. But it doesn't matter at this stage. Tam's units are now fighting in Matata's base. Matata's units absolutely getting shredded by the HRE mass. Horsemen coming in, and Matata calls it. Wow. What a massive final push, and the true difference of keeping up your villager production.